Good evening, everyone. It's Paul Kigabine here at the Garland County Library, and I want to thank you for tuning in to our program. I have with me one of my favorite people to work with, Charlie Moore, who is the founder of the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project. And according to Charlie, the mission statement of the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project is of educating, entertaining, and preserving the old-time folk traditions of the Ouachita Mountains. And we have a very special program tonight. This is our 5th virtual program, and before we went virtual, we had a couple of in-person concerts as well, and we hope to resume those sometime in the coming year. But they've all been great, very enjoyable, and Charlie here has put a lot of effort and passion and energy into making the content here very enjoyable for not just the audience, but myself here, kind of helping facilitate this program series with the library. So tonight's program is highlighting an Arkansas legend and an Arkansas treasure, as given that title by the Arkansas Arts Council. He's going to talk about Violet Hensley, who is 105 years old, and Charlie had a chance to meet her, and he's going to talk about his experiences. She is a renowned fiddleist, fiddle maker, musician, and she's lived a very impressive life. So, Charlie, I look forward to hearing all of your about your adventure going up and meeting Miss Hensley. And also want to give a shout out to the Sentinel Record. Brad Parker ran a wonderful feature about our program tonight in today's paper in the Sentinel Record. So appreciate that, Brad, if you're watching. And for you in the audience, if you have questions or comments for Charlie at any time, or just want to heckle him, don't hesitate to do so, and we'll read those questions and comments and heckles off. So Charlie, welcome. I rambled, and I know you like to ramble a lot yourself, so I'm going to pass that torch to you.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Yes, I think we do have an exceptional program tonight, and this has been one of the hardest ones for me to prepare for. Number one, covering 105 years of somebody's life who is just a remarkable lady. And we're going to have some actual video from our visit in earlier this month in Yellville. But I did want to back up just a little bit, and kind of, because meeting her and having this interaction with Miss Violet has kind of reignited me in that there's hope in achieving our mission, and what Paul mentioned, to preserve the old time traditions of the Ouachita Mountains. And what we're really targeting is early 1920s. In other words, before record players, before radios, before any kind of recorded music, where the only entertainment folks had in the hills of Arkansas, the Ouachitas and the Ozarks, was homemade music. If you didn't make it yourself, you didn't have it. So, and another thought, our first settlers came over here in 1620-ish, and we had radios invented in 1923. So we had 300 years to do homemade stuff, and that is entertainment, and whatever you made, you had to make what you wanted. And we can't go 300 minutes without having the television on, or maybe 30 minutes without having our cell phones with us. So looking back at our ancestors and the things that they went through to bring us to where we are today, I think we owe them a heck of a debt of gratitude for the suffering and hardships that they encountered. And Miss Hensley is a great representative of one tough lady who has done very well through this, and I think you will enjoy meeting her. Let's see. This trip I took. First, I want to up until this trip, the only piece of information I had about the music of the Ouachitas, and there's plenty of documentation about the Ozarks music. And Miss Sessler was attending the Ouachita Baptist College in 1997 and wrote a paper on the history of the music of the Ouachitas. And I've got just a couple of things I'd like to share with you, and please bear with me. We're going to get to Miss Hensley shortly. Miss Sessler says, I began this project very hopeful and relatively naive. The Ouachitas must be an undisturbed gold mine of folk music. that's kind of what I thought too when I took on this project several years ago. Okay, in the process of research, Ms. Sessler continues, I was often discouraged. First, sources were meager. The only written records of primitive folk music in the Ouachitas revolved around Emma Dusenberry. And there is a good bit written about Emma Dusenberry, and Terry Diggs, a local from Hot Springs who is a folklorist, has presented several programs on Emma and at the Garland County Historical Society, and that is very much it. Okay. Even today, now that we have Google and other search engines, you still can't find much of anything other than Miss Dusenberry and Miss Sessler's thesis on the subject. Miss Sessler continues, second, I found nothing that actually set Ouachita music apart from Ozark music. And then she goes on, anyone who might have possessed the elusive evidence I need died years before I started this project. Third, I didn't come across many young people interested in old music. Well, that part's still pretty much true, but there are more and more young people beginning to take an appreciation in the old time music. It's different. It's just it's from your heart. It's not from a page of music. It's a totally different genre of music. But and here I am, and today the Sentinel Record ran a front page story on a 105-year-old fiddle player who lived in the hills. I guess we were called hillbillies. And the Arkansas tourism folks and the Arkansas industrial development folks have been spending 50 years and millions of dollars to try to erase that identification with Arkansas that we're barefooted and we're hillbillies. And here I am bringing it up, and thank you to the Sentinel Record that we got some front page coverage today. This trip I took in early this month, I set out for a 4-day trip. First stop was Mount Ida. First stop in Mount Ida was an assisted living home because I thought, if I'm going to find this, I need to find the oldest person in the county. And that was delightful. I met some people that actually remembered Miss Hensley. And then I went to the Heritage House Museum in Mount Ida, and Barry Mickey is the executive director there, and it's a new facility and one of the best put together small town museum I've ever seen. And I encourage anybody to get over there and take a look at that. And they're closed until March. And that's where I really found out about Miss Hensley. So from there, I went to Mena and met a lady there who's in charge of the genealogy of that area. And she has a lot of documentation that we're going to get together early this year. So I guess what I'm saying is we kind of hit a vein of gold, and I'm going to be mining that over the next few months and sharing that with you. Going through Waldron, I just thought, well, I'm going to try that too. And I went there and happened to run into the lady that was in charge of the Historical Society. She had binders of news articles from the early 1900s about fiddle contests, about cornet and brass contests, and they're all in paper binders, not digitized yet. They're working on that too. But so much of the material that I've been looking for, I think, is out there. It's just a matter of you don't Google for this stuff. You go and start knocking on doors and going to coffee shops and asking if they know something about this or that. And one thing leads to another. So that's been fun. Also, on my way, I was going to go to the University of Arkansas and check with their heritage department. I talked with Virginia Siegel and with Joshua Youngblood, and they're kind of on a shutdown because of final exams and COVID. But I'm going to go visit with them on how to archive this, not just collect it for the library here, but actually have it where it's at a repository where other researchers can get to it and get to it easily, so that our historical perspective from the Ouachita Mountains can be preserved. There is a difference between the Ouachita Mountain music and the Ozarks, and it may be indistinguishable to a lot of folks, but to the musicians, they know there is a difference, even if you're playing the same tunes. Okay, I got to Yellville, and I during my travels, I'd been talking to folks, trying to get an arrangement to meet with Miss Hensley, and it's kind of like getting an audience with the Queen. I had to go through a couple of different people, and finally her daughter Sandy talked to me, and we had a great visit. And I think she thought my intentions were good, and so we planned to meet at 11 o'clock at Miss Hensley's home. She lives there with her dog and her two daughters, Wani. She has 9 children. Her 2 daughters are kind of come in and check on her, but she lives by herself. So anyway, we're going to get on to Miss Hensley. Paul, did I miss anything, or can you think of anything else I ought to clear up before we just jump right in with a little bit more on Miss Hensley?
Not off the top of my head, but there was a little anecdote when you and I were doing our interview with the paper the other day. You were mentioning a little story about how you talked to her for 4 hours. Why don't you tell us that story?
Oh, good gracious! Well, several things have happened. That she's an amazing lady. Yeah, we talked we started out at 11, and about a little after 12, I offered to go get a little lunch and take a break, and she said, "I'm not hungry." Well, I was getting a little bit hungry, so they got some cookies out on the table for me, and we talked another hour or two, and or another hour, and I'd ask her, "Are you okay, or should we maybe do this another time?" No, I'm okay. Well, after 4 hours, I was just about worn out, and she was ready to go. In fact, after we finished the interview, I asked her if I could play a few tunes with her, and she dug out her fiddle, and we played. On our second tune, one of the strings on her fiddle broke, and we were both disappointed. But I've got a date with her in the near future to go back. One other thing I'm going to mention, she's an author. Besides being a fiddle maker and a performer at Silver Dollar City, there is a book out here, if I can hold that up where it doesn't have so much glare, the Violet Hensley story. And the first 110 pages, it's a 252-page book, and it's the first 100 pages or so are pretty much all about her growing up in Montgomery County, and her family traveling around the country picking fruit and cotton and vegetables, whatever they could do to make a living during those hard times. Remember, she was born in 1916. She would have been 13 or 14 when the Great Depression started. Again, I think you'll fall in love with her when you see her here. The book can be bought and I think Paul will put something up. It's if you have any interest in history, this is almost like a Little House on the Prairie, except this is Ingalls. This is almost like Little House on the Prairie. It would be Little Cabin in the Ouachitas. Good people trying to do the right thing and sometimes struggling and sometimes celebrating, having good times and bad times, but never giving up. That's that. It's $19.95 at Amazon or at violethensley.com. Okay, let's see. Why don't we just start the interview, if you'd like to, Paul, and we have it kind of chopped up in 5 or 6 minute segments, and I had probably an hour and a half or 2 hours of video, and I cut it down to 20 minutes for the program, but it's again, I hope you enjoy it. I'm in the kitchen of Violet Hensley, 105-year-old fiddler, born in Mount Ida, Arkansas, and she's going to share some of the early days of Montgomery County and her experiences through this wonderful lifetime that she has. With her are her 2 daughters, Wani and Sandy. And we're just going to start the conversation. Miss Violet, if you could tell us a little bit about early days in Mount Ida and kind of where you were born and how the music started, just anything you want to talk about.
No, I was just born October 21st, 1916 at Mount Ida, Arkansas, near Mount Ida. Alamo,
Arkansas.
Alamo, Arkansas. Yeah, we went to Alamo School.
How many were in your class?
The school? 2, 3, I think. They were scattered out.
It was all in one room.
Yeah, one room school.
Did you like your teacher?
Yeah, Joe Simpson. He was my first teacher and my last teacher.
Oh, he taught all grades.
Yeah.
What's your first memory of music for you?
Music for me?
Either hearing it or playing it or just as a child?
Well, my dad played the fiddle. So I grew up with a fiddle. My dad played the fiddle. He'd say, I can make them better than I can play them, though. He made fiddles. I made 72 of them.
73.
73. Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, one viola.
Yeah. One,
And a viola, okay.
one was a viola. That's why she said 72.
I see, okay. And you're 6 or 7, and when did you pick up the first fiddle? Do you remember when did you pick up the fiddle with your dad's permission, or did you pick it up while he was not there, kind of sneaky?
No, I didn't do it no sneaky, but I picked it up on my own will.
And how old do you think you were then?
When you started playing.
6.
How old do you think you were when you started playing?
Huh?
How old do you think you were when you started playing music? For
I don't know
square
that.
dances.
I don't know. Oh, for square dances? What was I?
That weren't you about 12 when you
Yeah,
started and
yeah.
13 when you were actually playing
was
for the
12.
dances?
When I was 12, when I was 13, I was playing for square dances.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how often did y'all gather together to play?
Every Saturday night.
And where did you usually gather? Same house or
Sometimes-
all over the place?
No, sometimes at our house, and they'd take the bed down, move the bed over and put the babies on the bed and use the room for the dancing.
How long did you play? All night? Half the night?
No, till about 9 o'clock and nothing said. Y'all go home and go to bed.
That's cute. I like that.
That's good. How many people would be at the square dance?
At the square dance?
When you met in homes, about how many people would show up?
I don't know, a house full of them though.
Do you remember some of the tunes, the name of the tunes you used to play at the square dances?
Yeah, I played Buffalo Girls and
Cindy?
let's see.
You played Cindy.
Yeah, we played Cindy.
Jericho.
Jericho,
Mhm.
yeah, Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
One of Jericho
And
roads.
Soldier's Joy.
Yeah, we played them.
Now, that's one of my favorites.
Tom and Jerry.
Talk about that.
And
Oh.
Leather Breeches.
And leather breeches.
Yeah, yeah.
Some that you've forgotten since then, but you
Yeah,
played them.
Silver Slippers?
Golden slippers.
Golden Slippers.
Golden
Now, that
Slippers.
was one of the late ones that she learned.
Oh, them
Okay.
golden slippers, golden slippers. Look at
But probably some of the other fiddlers played
Yeah.
it.
them. Down there.
Bonaparte Crossing the Rhine, was that popular?
Bonaparte's Retreat.
Bonaparte's Retreat.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Wabash Cannonball.
Wabash Cannonball.
I don't know.
Mississippi Sawyer?
Yeah, it's the battalion.
You're playing the same tunes then that I'm learning now.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
you're learning them now.
Those exact tunes, and I'll show you a list later. That,
Buffalo Girls won't you come out tonight?
mhm.
Come out tonight, won't you come out tonight?
That's
Buffalo Girls won't you come out tonight? Alabama Gals won't you come out tonight? Fiddle out the moon.
great. You got a good voice too. Did you sing?
Sometimes.
Could you fiddle and sing at the same time?
Yeah, I had a fiddle teacher. He said it's impossible to sing and play the fiddle at the same time. I said, man, give me that fiddle.
You showed him.
Yep. You sure
This was
can.
in her later years. when she
Good for you.
started.
I said,
Okay, let's see. You're about age 13. We're still in Mount Ida. What next?
I'm 105.
Yeah, well, let's not skip that many years.
How about something like
Hey.
Someone's coming. I tell you, Okay. Oh, mercy. I just have to laugh with Miss Violet. Paul, are you going to be there? If you'll notice, when we talked about how many fiddles she made, and she said 72, and Sandy corrected her and said 73, and she said no, 72. One
She knew
was
what she was talking about.
yeah, she knew exactly what she was talking about. And when I suggested that she might know silver slippers, and she corrected me with it's golden slippers. I mean, and Bonaparte's Retreat. She just is a really fun person to be around. Any questions come from that, or did you get any online? Let me take a look on my thing here too.
And I see we have quite a few viewers on Facebook and YouTube, so don't be shy, break the ice. And if you have any questions for Charlie about his experience, his adventure really with Miss Hensley, don't hesitate to share. We've got more footage coming up, isn't that right?
We'll have it in just a second. In fact, we're going to play a couple of her. She's also a recording artist. She has a number of CDs out, and some of them are with her family and others. But they're terrific if you enjoy that type of silver dollar city music, which I certainly do. You may not have noticed, and she's almost totally blind now, and she's had to stop making fiddles 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, but she still does lives alone, and she was cutting a bell pepper while I was there, and it doesn't slow her down a bit. She's part of that generation that you just push forward, and I'm so blessed to have made her acquaintance. Just a couple of other things. A few of her celebrity things. When she was hired in 19, I'm not sure if she's going to cover this or not. I might want to pause on that and see what comes up in the next one. But she's a wood carver. She makes the fiddles. She's made 72 of them, by the way, and carved figurines and things that she sold at Silver Dollar City Recording Author. This is her only book. And I might mention the co-author, Randall Franks, from Georgia, was asked to help her with this. And if you understand it, you can't say no to her. I mean, she is so delightful and so open, honest, and this first 100 pages of the book, you want to laugh and you want to cry on the same page, and it's just a rewarding read. And I certainly encourage you to do that. And I did have a contributor who's going to donate one book to the library to be checked out, one book to the Historical Society, and at least one book to the Montgomery County Heritage House Museum. So they have a resource over there. But wonderful. You ought to get your own copy. And also and I got my copy, and pretty proud of it. And I have an autographed copy. If you can see, and again, I had to put her little hand down on the page where she signed it, and anyway, it's a touching,
better than my signature.
Yeah, it's a touching story. Why don't we do this? Why don't we play a little bit of the music, and then after you've played a little bit of it, we'll cut into some of the photographs. And let's play about 30 or 45 seconds of the music and then turn it down. And if I don't know if I can talk at the same time the photographs
You should be able to.
Okay, all right.
Here we go. Just let me know when you're ready to switch to the photos.
You can start. Yeah. Okay, let's show a couple of the photographs. There's over 150 photographs in the book, and I've picked out the bottom picture. The bottom picture is her school her class, and I guess that's the teacher. I can't remember the name of her teacher, and she just said it within 10 minutes ago, and she remembered it right off the bat. If you'll notice, the smallest girl in the second row, the first row sitting and the second row standing, the smallest girl, 1, 2, 3, 4 girls from the left. That's Miss Hazel in 1922. She would have been 6 years old or thereabouts. Go to and that's her dad on the top. That's a person from her memory sketched her log home, and it had been added on to, but that was her log home in Alamo, Arkansas, which no longer exists, but it was outside of near Norman, actually. You can go ahead and go to a couple of the others if you'd like to. This one just reminds me, this is the top one has them petting a deer. Well, Miss Hensley had a terrific relationship with animals. I mean, she had a pet squirrel. She could handle the mules, the team of mules better than most men. And she'll tell a story about that. She plowed, that just goes on and on. Next picture, please. That's her on her favorite animal. That's her horse, and that's Miss Hazel. She could have been an Annie Oakley, I think, because she shot. I mean, she'll tell you about her shotgun here later too. But she is quite a woman. And that's Tony. That's your horse, Tony. Who's next? That I think's the whole family. There's 9 children, and on the left of that picture was her husband, and on the right of the picture was her. And there's 9 of them. 9 children. So anyway, let's see. You want to go back to the video, or here we go. Oh, wait, stop on that one. The reason I put this one in here is this larger man, kind of on the right, Book Miller Shannon. I have heard his name since I've taken up the music in North Arkansas, and there's several songs that he's written, and people are playing them today. And I've never seen a picture of him, and I don't know if one exists. So I wanted to make sure we documented this one, and the other 2 people, I don't know them. But let's look at one more picture. And there she is, carving on one of her fiddles that she's making, and I'm not sure what year that was. And that's courtesy of Silver Dollar City, that particular one. Okay, let's get back and listen to Miss Hazel talk to us. Miss Violet, I'm sorry, Miss Violet. We may be having a tiny technical difficulty.
No, I'm just rolling slow.
Oh, that's okay.
There we go.
Oh, it may take it a second or 2 to catch
So
up.
your parents or grandparents, if you'd like to share kind of how they came to Montgomery County, and any of that would be interesting, I would think.
Yeah, my mother was a Springer.
Her grandparents lived in the Crystal Springs area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Mary Frances and Mary Springer.
Lived in the Crystal Springs
They
area.
lived in Crystal Springs.
And the Brumleys did too, didn't they? In the same general area.
The Brumleys was in now wait a minute.
Now, where did you live when you were born, Mom? Where were you born?
Alamo.
All right. So the place that you were born, how did that come into the family?
Let me see now. My grandpa had a log house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Didn't he homestead that farm?
Yeah. And see, I was born in the same old log house.
Do you remember where your grandfather came from? Did he live in that area when he homesteaded, or did he come there from somewhere else?
Grandpa did come. Let me see now.
What do you remember about Joshua Brumley?
He lived there in that area. Let's see. But no, he came there. He didn't want to be treated like the slaves. That's what he ran away from home. Grandpa Brumley did.
So that would have probably been in the mid 1800s,
Yeah.
I would think.
Way
Well,
back.
Grandpa was born in 1874.
Yeah.
So that would be my great grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's probably
Yeah.
early
I
1800s.
was born in 1916.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On that same farm. Is that
Yeah.
right? Mhm.
Same farm.
In the same log
Same
house?
old log house.
And did I hear you say you were born in the log cabin?
Yeah,
Now,
in the log house.
how did someone come in to help, or how was your birth?
I don't know, remember that.
You don't
Most likely a midwife.
You've got a good
Mid-
memory,
a
but you
mid-
don't go back that far.
okay.
And usually it was at someone nearby at a farm
Okay.
would come and deliver the babies.
Okay. Did you have a doctor in town? Do you remember a doctor?
No, we
at all?
had what they call it, a midwife, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and he got there.
So Mom, I'm gonna go back. What kind of chores did you have at the growing up?
Chores. Let me see now. We had a fireplace. We had to bring in firewood and put that by the fireplace.
Didn't you build your house?
Hmm.
After the log cabin burned, you built the house and then moved into the house and you helped build that house.
I helped build that house.
How come the log cabin to burn?
Wait a minute, I don't know.
When you were gone to Oklahoma, didn't somebody else move in?
Oh, the Presleys moved in there and they built too big a fire and it caught fire from the top of the chimney. Burned down.
Mm.
Caught fire from the outside, from the top, and burnt it downward.
So it wasn't there when you came back. So
Yeah.
where did you live?
They built a house. Dad built a house just across the road from it.
Didn't you live with your Uncle Will for a while you were building it?
Yeah. Not very long though.
Did you know it had burned before you got back and just saw that it wasn't there?
Let me see. No, I think we knew it burned. Yeah.
That's how did you have newspapers or mail, or how were you informed of what was going on
Well,
around?
let's see. How did we get our news? Yeah, that's
Did you have a radio?
no. We didn't have no radio.
Then you probably got letters.
We got letters. That's where we got them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Letters and word of mouth.
Like letter edged in black.
Yeah. What did the letters
got one
edged
of
in black
those.
mean?
The letter edged in black meant the person was dead.
Somebody had died.
Yeah.
They took a pencil and marked around on the outside of the envelope.
Uh-huh.
That's so that when you got that letter, you
Yeah,
knew
we
it was
got
bad
letters.
news.
Yeah.
They didn't know
Oh.
the sorry he brought me when he handed me that letter edged in black.
We got one of those when our cousin passed away.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What year was that?
Was that?
I've never heard of that before.
Oh, it was-
Do you know about?
It would be early 60s.
Okay. And
Early
that's not a tradition up here or anywhere else now. Okay.
It was
I've
early
never heard of that.
60s.
That was the last one we ever got. It was edged
the
in
only
black.
one that I remember.
Edged in black. Okay. A couple of things there. Am I on? Can you hear me okay, Paul?
Yes, I can. Sure can.
Okay, there we go. Okay. A couple of things there. The chores, I think there were only, in her family, there were 3 girls. I don't think there were any, they may have to correct me, but the girls had to do the work that any boy would have done, child would have done. So she plowed the fields. She did everything in the world. I think she speaks on that here in a moment too. But again, they couldn't distinguish. Talk about equal rights. They had them within the family because everybody had to do the same thing to survive, basically. The other thing, the black border, that's one thing I'd never heard of. And they would take a pencil and mark around the envelope when there was bad news. And when I was interrupting her, she was saying that the mailman didn't want to give her the letter when it was edged in black, but he had to. Let's play a little more music, and you can play the second song if it's queued up, and then we'll play maybe 30 or 40 seconds of it, and then we'll talk about some of the photographs.
that ready. And while I'm getting that pulled up, we did get a live question from Barry, who says, when is the last time Miss Violet performed live?
Well, actually, she performed with me live the 1st of December when we played 2 songs together. But
You were bad luck for strings.
For strings, that's right. Well, we were getting down, boy. She was sawing that thing. She played earlier this year at Silver Dollar City, just a kind of a traditional thing. But I think had been playing. I take it that maybe her schedule is such now that she won't play nearly as much, but they still get up there periodically. Okay, this next song, I believe it's going to be Black Eyed Susie, and it's another one that's a traditional old time song. And she does. Oh, this is. That's she could remember it a lot quicker than I would have been able to. But anyway, that's Red Wing. And for her not to be able to snap those tunes out, we'll have a jam of old time folks. There'll be 5 or 6 of us, and somebody will want to play a tune, and it'll be his turn, and they cannot think of any tune, and they know hundreds of them. So that's not uncommon among us. And most of this is oral tradition. The music was not written down. You learn from somebody, and you pass that on to some other younger person. And that's why a lot of the history of this is kind of obscure, is that there's not written music, and there's little written documentations of really what went on. Red Wing. Okay, that's Sandy. That's the daughter. In fact, I talked to them this afternoon, and that's Miss Hensley, of course. I called because I had a question about all the photographs, and they were not wealthy people growing up in Montgomery County, but there's a good many photographs. And I asked, and Mrs. Hensley, I was at the table with Sandy, and she asked her, said, who had that camera? And she thought for a minute. I mean, she thought for 10 seconds probably. And she named 2 girls that were friends who had a camera. That was the only camera in town probably. But that's some of the early pictures. And then later on, they had their own camera. But she snapped those names out, and she told me what they were 3 hours ago, and I've already forgotten. Next picture. Let's move on. Here's some of her celebrity. She was on, that's Alex Trebek, and she was on To Tell the Truth. She was on Regis and Kathy Lee, and you can kind of look at the bottom picture with that expression that Regis has there, trying to play the fiddle. Oh me. Next picture. Glenn Campbell. That's Glenn Campbell with her, and then Glenn Campbell with the family. And of course, he had a theater in Branson at one point in time. Let's go on to the next one. Oh goodness, that's Etta Baker in a North Carolina festival, and she is a very renowned African American folk singer that is highly respected. And then the bottom one is her showing folks how to make fiddles at Silver Dollar City. Okay, let's move on. Well, that's okay. Let's see. That's her jamming in Memphis. And the bottom is Brad Leftwich and Linda. Brad, I've met him once, probably 5 years ago when I first started, and he is a wonderful preservationist of the music. And he was in Missouri and recorded some of her music, and is still teaching fiddle and banjo. But he's another the real deal as far as being a preservationist and a folklorist. Okay, now let's go back to the video.
All right, getting that set up. Okay. And just a reminder for the audience, if you have any questions or comments at any point, don't hesitate to share those. Speaking
back to Barry's question, if you Google Violet Hensley, or not Google, YouTube, search on YouTube for Violet Hensley, you'll see plenty of her playing actually recently in the last 5 years. And then you can also find some when she was playing further back too.
Charlie, what was it, going back to the beginning of your adventure, that captured your interest in her specifically? What got Miss Hensley on your radar to do this project?
Well, she was born right next door to us, and that was the first link I had found of somebody that's playing, that grew up with the type of music I'm trying to preserve. She's 105, so she's been there and done that, and she remembers it. And she's just a delightful person to sit down with and have a cup of coffee with and visit for 4 hours. And then I had to leave because I got tired.
But not her. You.
Not her. She was ready to go.
Yeah, she seems very delightful and very, very lucid and full of energy.
Oh, she is. She really is.
All right, got the next part of the video ready for us.
Okay. Kind of get things started. Why don't you tell us about when you were a child and y'all would take cotton to the gin and maybe get a little money and things like that, and maybe how you dealt with money.
Let's see now. Bale, I remember my dad said, a bale to the acre. We take cotton to the gin, and then we take cottonseed back home. And I said, what did we do with them?
You saved the cottonseed for the next year.
Yeah.
And you sold the cotton.
Sold the cotton. I remember Dad looking out over it and said, bale to the acre.
Mm-hmm.
We got a bale of cotton to the acre 1 year. We didn't do it every year.
Do you remember?
My mind is trying to run back and rake up things.
Well, you just keep raking.
You're doing a great job. Did he ever pay you anything? Or did anybody give you a little money?
No. Let's see.
First money you ever got?
Yeah. Somebody gave me a nickel and told me to spin it. And I put it down before this one and spin it. He said, take that and spin it. And I just done like that on the floor.
How old were you?
I was 6 years old.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we take another break and make another list of things and come back, because this is priceless, Miss Violet.
Are you getting ahead of yourself?
No, I'm right on target. And you're keeping me on target. I can tell right now. Okay, we'll be back. No, if there aren't any questions, let's do a few more of the photographs. And again, I think I have 20 photographs, and there's 150, and they tell,
I think I've got just one more we haven't shown yet.
Okay. Okay, that's not the entire family. That's kind of the musical family. That's her husband in the center back, and that's Sandy on the right, and Wani on the left, sitting with her, and then her grandson. Oh, no, I believe that must be Wani's husband, and then Glenn Campbell at the bottom there. But there are priceless pictures, and I'm anxious to go back and visit with her some more and dig a lot deeper into her recollection of Montgomery County. And she did refer to going to Hot Springs several times, that they had to go to Hot Springs for something. And that was back then. That was a trip. That was a pretty tough ride. Okay.
Getting that next part loaded up.
Okay.
You want to stall for just a second, Turner?
I will. Let's see. The book, again, and I keep talking about the first 100 pages being about Montgomery County. The rest of it is a great memories of Miss Violet dealing with becoming very popular at Silver Dollar City in her travels. And in fact, when they were getting ready to open it, I don't believe we covered this in the video, she was flown all over the country with a couple of other stars to advertise Silver Dollar City. And that's when she was on. In fact, Charles Corral had her on CBS Sunday morning interviewing her. She's a member. She's been inducted into the National Fiddlers Hall of Fame. She's an Arkansas Living Treasure and designation in 2004. She has performed at the Grand Ole Opry, and there's one funny story. She was interviewed to go on Johnny Carson, and she was just going along, and the interviewer said, "Now, what show would you like to be on more than anything in the world?" And she said, "Oh, well, that would be the Grand Ole Opry." And the lady said, "Okay, thank you." She didn't say Johnny Carson's show, so she didn't get on.
All right, we got that loaded for us.
Okay, here we go. Okay, moving right along, we've reminisced some more. We'd mentioned about you having to plow the fields or work with the plow. You want to talk a little bit of that?
Barefooted.
And you were 9 years old or thereabouts?
Yep. I remember starting plowing when I was 9 years old. I had to reach up for the plow handles.
And you had, who pulled the plow?
The mule.
Did you always use a mule?
Yeah. I learned to plow when I was 9 years old.
Oh.
I had to reach up for the plow handles.
Did you have to hook them up and everything?
Yep. And I'd have to reach up for the plow handles and guide myself with it and
Mm-hmm.
put the plow lines around my waist.
What's the first ones
This
you
one.
plowed? What's the first ones that you hooked up together?
Oh, the first one I hooked up was a heifer and a mule.
A heifer and a mule.
Yeah.
Were you
He said-
successful?
Then I got this across the road. My dad caught me and made me turn and hook them. He said, "You tear my tobacco patch all to pieces." I got across. I got out in the road out of the cow lot with it though.
Do you remember the mule's name by any chance?
The mule is Cricket.
Cricket?
Yep,
That's neat.
we had Cricket.
Were you able to, at the end of the row, turn the row? Or did someone have to help you turn?
No, I turned it.
My goodness, that is
turned it.
remarkable.
Yeah,
You did what you had to do back then, didn't you?
yep.
Miss Violet, I was in Mount Ida day before yesterday, and I saw the fiddle making tools that your dad had
Oh,
made and you used.
yeah,
Do you remember using those tools?
yes. I used them too.
And are you still doing a little bit of work on fiddles, or have you
No,
passed that on to somebody else?
Can't see how now.
Yes.
Well, I think we're kind of creeping up after talking about all the things you had to do, and then along comes in the late 20s, early 30s, along comes the Great Depression. How did that impact life at your homestead, the Great Depression?
My dad didn't lose any money because he didn't have no money in the bank.
Mm.
Banks went what do they call it?
Bankrupt.
Bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
My dad didn't lose any because he didn't have any money there to start with. His money was in his pocket.
So the Depression, y'all just kept doing what you had been
kept-
doing to
He
survive?
kept his money all in his own pocket.
Mhm,
He
mhm.
never put it in the bank.
Okay.
So,
Back to the one other thing came up was that this acidity.
that's a bit.
Yes, ma'am. Now tell me what that's all about.
Oh, that's what kept you from getting what was it? That's what you used to ask the state for.
Was it the whoop and cough? Keep you from getting
Whoop
sick?
and cough.
Up and cough and kept us well,
Mhm,
healthy.
I think they also used it for flu and stuff, just illnesses.
mhm, mhm. So how do you think it worked?
That's a pity. I don't know. I haven't thought of that in so long.
I mean, as far as I think we talked about one way it worked is the ingredients were kind of offensive, maybe.
Uh-huh. Smell like garlic.
Garlic and
Very,
onion and
Very
rosemary. and-
offensive. Nobody wanted to smell you.
So nobody got close to you.
Yeah.
And how did you fix that up? Did you smear it on them or what?
Put it in a bag and put it around your neck. Put it in a little cloth bag, put it around your neck in front.
Wanda, you had a little reflection of when you wore one time. You want to share that or
I
not?
think I was the last child to wear one in early elementary years, and I wore it to. Everybody was getting sick at school, the flus and stuff and the colds, and she put one around my neck, and I got to school, and I think the teacher didn't appreciate it, and that's the last time we ever wore one.
But nobody got close to you, did they?
No.
It worked.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, we're going to take another pause and kind of see what direction we're going to go in now. Do we have any questions?
Give me just a moment here. There we go. All right. Audience, don't be shy. Get your questions or just comments in. Show some love for Miss Violet Hensley, and let Charlie know what you think and if anything you want to know. And he's going to go spend some more time with her in the future. And if there's any questions you think he should ask her that he may not have already, please share those. What else you got for us, Charlie?
If we finish the photographs, I think we can just go ahead with the last part of the video and see if any questions come up then.
Sure. And before we do that, I did when you said you went on the Grand Ole Opry, I was looking for that, and I saw here on the Encyclopedia of Arkansas website, she made her third appearance as recently as April 2018. So she would have already been over 100 at that point.
Oh, yeah.
That's very impressive.
Yes. And she is, by the way, she and her family are listening right now if they got connected. So, hi, Miss Violet.
Did you ever shoot one?
I have, but not, I have.
Oh, you hold it tight to your shoulder here, or it'll give you a black jaw like it did my brother-in-law. You hold it tight to your shoulder, and then you fire it, and it'll make it bounce back like that, but it won't break your shoulder.
Why did you shoot it?
Well, because somebody dared me to do it.
It was the same guy that got busted in the jaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you shot both barrels at the same time?
Brother-in-law said, shoot both barrels at the same time. And I did.
She braced herself.
And I braced it tight, see?
Uh-huh.
You hold it tight there so it won't break your collarbone. And I shot it. They was said, no, when I bridled the mule, they said, go over there and bridle that mule. And I said, will it turn the wheel and kick me? No. Everything I asked was no. What? It had been never bridled like that before. They'd been put the saw over its head, then put the bits in its mouth, and I put the bits in the mouth and then the saw over the head just like any other mule. And there's over there just saying, I'll be damned. I'll be damned.
And you rode that. Was that the mule that you rode? They said that you wouldn't ride it?
No, that wasn't the one I rode. They told me to ride the red one and bring the black one in. I was the team changer. And I come in riding the black mule, and they said, get off that mule, he'll kill you. I said, well, I'm there down, he ain't kill me yet. They said, ride the red one and lead the black one. When I rode the black one and led the red one, and they said, get off that mule, he'll kill you. Get off that mule. How could I get it kill me then when I was already there?
Well, it sounds like you didn't let people discourage you from doing what you thought you needed to do.
I thought I was tough. I thought I was tough.
Well, you are. And I saw that picture of you on your horse rearing up. I know you had a lot of fun with that horse.
Oh, yeah. I had lots of fun with that horse.
Yep. Well, I want to thank you for spending the time doing this. And I bet I come back and get some more if you're willing. And
well, I guess I don't know why I couldn't.
Okay. All right. That's a deal. Well, Merry Christmas, and I will be talking to y'all soon.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Okay.
What a charming woman.
That I think maybe you had to be there to appreciate it, but my gosh, it was a really cool experience for me, and I hope the audience tonight enjoyed it, and I hope to be able to bring a little bit more of that. And also her enthusiasm about so many things has kind of reignited me into trying to find some more links to our puzzle about the Ouachita Mountains. So maybe we can come up with some more things, Paul, together to share with our audience.
Absolutely. Well, you said that was a 4-hour conversation, and you had 4 hours of footage, and you chopped it down to just 20 minutes to share with us. But what are some other stories and conversations you had that you're willing to share?
Well, the one about, I thought I'd let this one in. She and her sister were out playing one day, and they had a stick, and I think they were maybe 7 or 8 years old, eight or 9, and they wanted to cut the stick off. And so Miss Violet had the axe, and the little girl was going to show her where to cut the stick. And so she said, right there. And then she took her finger away, and right as she came down, the little girl said, now right there. And she cut the end of her sister's finger off. And what that was bringing, the reason I had put it in there was to talk about what you did when you had emergencies. And they wrapped it in a cloth. Her dad took his shirt tail off and wrapped it up and poured kerosene on it, coal oil. And that was the remedy for that. And it healed fine, no problems. And there were some other medical issues that we talked about, suspected appendicitis. They had, you can just imagine being, they were in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Alamo is not very close to Mount Ida. Their church was 7 miles away. They didn't go to church as often because it was such a haul. They were very spiritual and had very, very much faith in, that has served them well. The closeness of the family is remarkable. There's just so many things I got out of it that I probably could not ever get into a video. But no, it was rewarding.
Got a question and a nice comment from Adam Webb, library director. His question is, are any of Violet's instruments for sale anywhere?
That's a good question. There's not any, unless someone has one that they're reselling, no. And they're treasured by those that have them, I understand. And I believe she did number them. And if you find one where the neck joins the back, there would be a little number. And for some reason, she started numbering them. And I think she still has number 3.
So all 72 plus 1.
72 plus 1, and she won't let you mistake that. Yeah. So no, I don't know. I think they're just kind of a treasured part. Now she does make made carvings too, and that's one thing I didn't know about when I was up there until I came back and read more into the book. But I would love to try to get some of the carvings, and some of the headstock of the fiddles become very ornate. They might be a dog or a cat or something. Fiddle makers get very creative with some of the scrolling up there. But my next trip up too, I'm going to try to find one of her carvings to keep.
And even though you'd mentioned, even though she's lost her eyesight, she's still involved to some extent in the hands-on crafting.
Well, I don't know if she can handle wood or not. That's a good question, but I'm going to see if I can't track down a piece that maybe is still around. But she doesn't let her age get in the way of her doing what she has to do or what she wants to do, seems like. And I may not be repeating myself. Oh, no, I'm not repeating myself. I called her daughter, Sandy, this afternoon about the camera deal. And Sandy said, well, just the other day, she started singing a song in the kitchen that I'd never heard before. And I've tried to look it up, and I can't find any place. It's called the Hard Times at the Round Top Jail. And somebody seems to think it's in Northwest Arkansas, or was, and she started singing it, and she said it's just a really neat song. And she put the phone over to Miss Hensley, and she started singing it for me. And I mean, it was 3 or 4 verses, and it's really a cool song. It's a ballad song that has murder and all kind of good stuff in it that the old time songs typically had. but her rendition was beautiful. And I just, I want to get up there and get that recorded and try to figure out where it came from. But she's just a font of information about our mountains.
Excellent, excellent. And you had a great adventure yourself. I can tell you're very enthusiastic about this. And what was your favorite part of the whole experience?
That 4 hours. Yeah, just sitting. And I didn't record 4 hours. I probably recorded an hour and a half or two.
Mm-hmm.
Just, we just sat around and talked and drank coffee. And then we would talk about, okay, I'll do the recording. And they were very comfortable with that. And I hope they are able to see it, or we'll make sure that they can see the replay. But sweet people, very nice folks.
Well, you'd probably still be there listening to her if you hadn't got tired first.
I'm sorry?
I said you'd probably still be there listening to her if you hadn't got tired and hungry.
Well, she outlasted me. Yes, she sure did.
Great comment from Adam. I have a comment of appreciation. I want to thank Charlie for helping to preserve the stories and culture of our area and our state.
Thank you very much. And I think, again, we might be able to dig a little deeper. We've kind of got a foothold into some other sources across western Arkansas that will be interesting to pursue. So thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. And I really appreciate the library's support and encouragement, and some of our other sponsors through the last couple of years, the Garland County Historical Society, the Hot Springs Area Cultural Alliance, Becky Comstock at Raymond James helped us with one of the concerts. The library, of course. I'm trying to think of others. That 420 Eats helped sponsor the concert at the food truck, and we're going to do more of that. Try to bring some actual. A lot of folks are tuning in hoping to hear some music, and I'm sorry that we didn't have too much of that, but we're going to get back to that. I promise you.
And then, of course, there's a comment of appreciation over on Facebook from Sharon for Miss Hensley yourself. Thank you for sharing all of your memories, and what a memory you have.
Yes, that's nice. Thank you, Sharon.
Absolutely. And thank you to the audience. If you were watching live, or you're watching in the future, or you turned in late, this video is going to be available for forever for the future, so you can share this, and please do, about the rich, wonderful life of Violet Hensley. It is wonderful that Charlie was able to go up there and archive all of this history and her storytelling and her experiences. Very important. Give us a reminder where we can find her book and more information about Miss Hensley.
It's easy. It's on Amazon, and you can look up the Violet Hensley story. Is probably the easiest way to look it up on Amazon. If you're a Prime member, it's free shipping. It's $19.95, and it's a keeper. If you want an autographed copy, go to Violet Hensley with no dot or anything. It's just violethensley.com, HENSLEY. And there's a buy spot on there, so you can get a autographed copy if you ask for it through them.
Or you can steal Charlie's autographed copy. He's got right there in front of him.
No, I tell you what, I'm gonna hang on to this one. But there will be one in the library very soon, probably the latter part of next week, that will be available for checkout. And
it might take us a little bit of time to get that catalog, but we'll have a waiting list. You can get on for that and enjoy the book.
Good.
And then, Charlie, we have a tentative date for our next program. On my calendar here, I have Tuesday, January 25th of 2022.
Wow. I tell you, I want to go for quality instead of quantity. We may want to put one off. I have an idea that I think will be a good follow-up to this one, and if I can pull that together, we can do that. Otherwise, I'm going to be traveling a little bit in the next few weeks, and that may be pushing it to get some things together.
So stay tuned for a formal announcement and
right.
an official date, but there's more content coming from the Arkansas Highlands Folk Project, and you can go back and see the previous virtual episodes if you enjoyed this one. And go ahead.
And we know that the virtual presentations don't take place of the live presentations. And Paul was describing the live presentations to the Sentinel Record folks the other day. And I had forgotten how much fun they were and how much, I mean, it was, I thought we were going to have to call security in.
Yeah.
Having so much fun.
Yeah, and lots of dancing and clapping and door prizes, and very, very rowdy in a good way.
It was. It sure
live
was.
music.
It was.
So more in-person concerts will continue, and more content from Charlie. This was actually the last virtual program, at least for adults, the library's having for the year. So I think we ended on a great note. And once again, just want to thank you and the audience. Any final remarks? I'll let you get the last word, Charlie.
I don't. Just Happy New Year, everyone. Stick with us. We're going to have some fun with this.
Same to you. Happy New Year. Take care.